Okay guys, it's Barrett with the Gimpy Camper. I'm going to talk to you today about paying my stupid tax. You know, stupid tax is one of those things that you do whenever you just do something stupid. That was me. I was at a campground and turned the opposite way than the way that they want you to go, which was okay because it was a two-way road, but they obviously didn't have the drive wide enough in that area to make that turn. So my tires went off the pavement, which I knew at the time. And then when I got home a few days later, I noticed that my stabilizer jack was bummed up. And by bummed up, I mean like the motor's hanging off. It's all bent upward and the guts have fell out of it. And it's virtually useless. So we're paying some stupid tax this week. We're replacing that stabilizer jack. I'm going to walk you through how to do that. It's a pretty simple process, but it hurts the checkbook a lot, especially if you go back with the electric ones. You could have went back and, put some scissor jacks on or something like that. But I just wanted to make it back whole because this thing's not a month old yet. And so here's the process we did. Now I do want to start out by saying that you can find 3 different versions of the same jack. And the only difference, I saw that on an e-trailer video, but the only difference is that one doesn't come with a switch, one comes with a black two-way rocker switch, and one comes with a white rocker switch that's in like a shrouded panel. And so that's the only difference. I actually got the one with the black rocker switch because for some reason it was cheaper than without the switch on Amazon. But it's a pretty easy project. You just take the bolts out and change the 2 wires, but I'm going to walk you through it here. So the first thing you do is reassess the damage and say some bad words in your head again, because that's always helpful, right? Then in my particular application, there were only 4 bolts on each side that were all a number 14 metric size wrench and socket to get out. They weren't that hard to break loose, and they were fairly easy to come out. So we just started loosening them all first before we dealt with the electrical components. But we didn't want to drop the weight of the jack on the electrical connection, so we went ahead and cut the zip ties off in preparation to get ready to undo the electrical. Our 2 electrical wires came right off with a 3/8 inch socket. I'd only left one of the bolts in that side in order to hold the weight up, and so now we're just going to go ahead and take that off. I just let that side drop to the ground, then I went over to repeat the process on the other side to take the 4 bolts out. There aren't any electrical connections or anything on that side, so it's easy breezy. I do want to say be sure to turn your electrical off, whether you disconnect the battery or turn the disconnect, so that way you don't blow any fuses or anything like that. Before we can take it off, we do have to go back to these electrical connections again though, and just remember how that was wired. We got to cut these 2 wires apart in the middle before we can pull the jack out. Then you just muscle that jack out of there. It's not too heavy, so it's not horrible. It's kind of gratifying that it wasn't a bigger pain to get loose. Then it's time to unpack the new jack out of the truck. Then we're just going to do everything in the opposite way that we did it when we took it off. So we're going to slide it back under there. If you want to, you can use a battery to help jack it up to get it closer to the frame of the camper. This also does show the weakness for this particular type of jack. If you use the battery to raise it up, you can see how that it's not really stable. It's more of like a balance beam over the center triangle of that stabilizer jack. Then we just have to redo everything that we took apart a while ago. So we have to put all these bolts back in. I would put them hand tied. I would put 1 in each side so it stays up where it's supposed to be, and that way you can get it straightened out, and then tighten them down real good. I would do like the one on the front, and then the one on the back, and then the ones in the middle. Don't just go straight across it tightening those down, because I don't think you'll get as good of a result that way. Then we have to match our electrical connectors up. So we have to combine those 2 wires with either a wire nut or a connector that were combined before, and then we have to put another terminal, a ring terminal, on the other wire that was on that new motor so that we can hook them up the same way they were took off. Be sure you take a picture of that before you take it off if you can't remember how it looks before you start. Then you just use that 3/8 socket to make the connections the way they were, and you zip tie everything up out of the way. Then we just give everything a quick test from the rocker switch in the front and make sure that it works fine. Obviously, when I did this test, I didn't have everything zip tied up out of the way, but that's not what it looks like after we're all done. This video's featured YouTube channel is the Traveling Pisces. I recommend following these guys. They try to make their stuff entertaining. They do a lot of foodie stuff too, so shows you some places that you might want to eat and check out while you're on the road with your own adventures. But definitely check those guys out.
Do not forget to hit that subscribe button.